What if everything we were watching was a lie? What if the moments that looked the happiest were actually the saddest? And what if episode 8 wasn't building toward redemption at all, but toward a tragedy that was hiding in plain sight from the very beginning? Today we're breaking down everything that happened in Euphoria Season 3 Episode 8. The shocking twists, the heartbreaking ending, the hidden clues, and the emotional moments that completely changed the story forever. And trust me, by the end of this breakdown, you'll look at this episode in a completely different way, because this wasn't just a finale. This was the end of an era. The episode opens in a surprisingly calm way after an entire season filled with violence, addiction, betrayal, and emotional destruction. Viewers are finally given something they haven't seen in a long time. Hope. Rue seems different. For the first time in years, she looks like someone who might actually have a future. The fear that has followed her throughout the season appears to be fading away. The threats surrounding her seem smaller, the weight she has been carrying looks lighter. And yet something feels wrong. Something feels almost too perfect. If you've watched Euphoria long enough, you know this show rarely allows happiness to arrive without consequences. That's why from the very first scenes, there is an uncomfortable feeling hiding beneath everything. The smiles feel different. The conversations feel strange. The atmosphere feels dreamlike, and that feeling only grows stronger as the episode continues. Throughout the first half of the finale, Rue begins reflecting on her life. She thinks about the mistakes she has made. She thinks about the people she has hurt. She thinks about the relationships she destroyed and the opportunities she lost. But more importantly, she begins imagining what her future could look like. For years, Rue has been trapped between recovery and relapse, between hope and self-destruct, between life and death. Now it appears she might finally be choosing life, but Euphoria is quietly planting clues that something much darker is happening. Several scenes feel disconnected from reality. Characters appear exactly when Rue needs them. Conversations seem almost too meaningful. Moments arrive that feel like wishes coming true. The audience wants to believe Rue is healing. The audience wants to believe she is finally getting a second chance, and that is exactly why the twist works so well. Because while viewers are focused on hope, danger is moving closer with every scene. Meanwhile, the story shifts toward the growing tension surrounding Alamo. Throughout the season, Alamo has established himself as one of the most dangerous figures in Rue's world. Every appearance brings uncertainty. Every interaction carries a sense of threat. But what makes Alamo terrifying isn't just his power. It's the fact that he represents everything Rue has been trying to escape. Addiction, manipulation, control, self-destruction. As the finale progresses, Alamo's shadow hangs over the story even when he isn't physically present, and eventually that shadow becomes impossible to ignore. The emotional heart of the episode comes from Rue's ongoing battle with herself. One of the reasons audiences connect so deeply with Rue is because her struggle feels real. She's not a perfect hero. She's not a perfect victim. She's a complicated person trying to survive her own mind. Season after season, we've watched her make terrible decisions. We've watched her hurt the people who loved her. We've watched her sabotage opportunities for happiness. Yet somehow, we always found ourselves rooting for her. Because beneath all the mistakes was a person desperately trying to find peace. And that's what makes episode 8 so devastating. It gives us glimpses of the peace Rue has always wanted, only to reveal how fragile that peace really is. As the episode reaches its midpoint, the tension becomes unbearable. The strange feeling that has followed the story from the beginning starts making sense. Viewers begin realizing that not everything they've been watching is real. The line between reality and hallucination becomes increasingly blurred. Memories blend together, dreams blend together, hope blends together, until nobody knows exactly where reality ends and imagination begins. And then comes the moment that changes everything. Rue unknowingly consumes fentanyl-laced pills supplied by Alamo. What initially appears insignificant quickly becomes catastrophic. The realization hits like a punch to the stomach. This isn't another relapse. This isn't another mistake she can recover from. This is the end. The scene unfolds with heartbreaking precision. There are no dramatic speeches. No miraculous rescue. No last-second reversal. Just the horrifying understanding that Rue's story is reaching its conclusion. For years, viewers watched her survive situations that seemed impossible. She survived overdoses. She survived violence. She survived trauma. She survived herself. But this time, there is no escape. And that's what makes the moment so shocking, not because it's loud, but because it's quiet. The audience keeps expecting someone to save her, someone to arrive, someone to stop what's happening, but nobody comes, and suddenly the impossible becomes real. Rue is gone. For many fans, this is easily the most emotional moment in the entire series. Not just because Rue dies, but because of what her death represents. Rue wasn't simply the main character. She was the emotional center of Euphoria, the lens through which viewers experienced everything. Without her, the entire world of the show feels different. And that's exactly the point. The second half of the episode explores the aftermath, the devastating consequences, the ripple effect created by a single loss. One of the hardest scenes involves Ollie. Throughout the series, Ollie served as Rue's mentor, guide, and source of wisdom. He understood addiction because he had lived through it himself. He believed in redemption. He believed people could change. He believed Rue could survive. When he discovers what happened, that belief shatters. The pain on his face says everything. Years of hope disappear in an instant. And for the first time, viewers see Ollie consumed by something he normally keeps under control. Rage. Pure rage. The man who spent years teaching forgiveness suddenly wants revenge, and honestly, most viewers understand exactly why. Because they feel the same way. The episode brilliantly uses this emotional shift to increase suspense. The audience knows who is responsible. The audience knows Alamo played a role in Rue's death. Now there is only one question. What happens when Ollie finds him? At the same time, another major storyline reaches its conclusion. Bishop's true intentions are finally revealed. For much of the season, Bishop remained mysterious. His motives were unclear. His alliances constantly shifted. Viewers never knew whether to trust him. Episode 8 finally provides answers, and those answers completely change the way audiences view previous episodes. Suddenly hidden conversations make sense. Suddenly suspicious behavior makes sense. Suddenly everything fits together. The revelation proves that Bishop has been playing a much larger game than anyone realized. But even with these answers, the suspense continues building. Because everyone knows the real confrontation is still coming, and when it arrives, it's every bit as intense as fans expected. Ollie finally comes face to face with Alamo. This isn't a heroic showdown. This isn't a glamorous revenge sequence. It's ugly. It's painful. It's emotional, because neither man is fighting over power. They're fighting over loss. The confrontation feels inevitable. Like the trains moving toward the same collision from the beginning of the season, when violence finally erupts, it carries enormous emotional weight. Ollie ultimately kills Alamo. Justice is served. The man responsible for so much suffering is gone. Yet somehow the victory feels empty, because revenge cannot undo tragedy. Revenge cannot bring Rue back. And the episode makes sure viewers understand that one death simply creates another. One tragedy creates more pain. The cycle continues. Elsewhere, the finale explores how other characters respond to the loss. Jules receives some of the most heartbreaking scenes throughout the series. Her relationship with Rue defined both characters. Their connection was messy. Complicated. Beautiful. Painful. But it was real. Now Jules must face a future without the person who changed her life forever. The sadness in her storyline feels overwhelming. Not because she loses what she had, but because she loses what could have been. The future she imagined no longer exists, and that's a pain many viewers will understand immediately. Maddie's story also reaches an emotional conclusion after years of conflict and chaos. She begins seeing life differently. The same is true for Cassie. The rivalry that once consumed both characters suddenly feels insignificant compared to the tragedy surrounding them. For perhaps the first time, they understand how fragile life really is. And that realization changes everything. As the episode enters its final moments, the pace slows down. The chaos disappears. The violence fades away. The anger settles. What remains is reflection. Characters look back on the choices they made, the people they loved, the opportunities they missed, the mistakes they can never erase, and through all of it, Rue's presence remains. Even though she is gone, her impact is everywhere. In every conversation. In every memory. In every person she touched. The final scene is intentionally emotional. Instead of ending with a shocking twist, the show chooses something quieter, something more thoughtful, something more human. It asks viewers to consider the central question that has always defined Euphoria: can people truly escape themselves, or are some battles impossible to win? The ending doesn't provide a simple answer. Instead, it leaves audiences with conflicting emotions. Sadness. Hope. Regret. Love. Loss. Accept. And see.